I love me some introverted feelers, man. They're just like, they're so cute.
Oh, jeez.
So cute. How could you not? Their hearts are so big. So big. I love them.
And the
It's my
feelings.
INFP right there. Welcome back, guys, to another video. The last video we posted was about being an INFJ INFP relationship, and we got a good response on that, and I kind of want to take it further and go more into the cognitive functions that we both share and how that shows up in our relationship, the differences in our cognitive functions. So I guess we'll start off today with FE versus FI, so extroverted feeling versus introverted feeling. As an INFJ, I have extroverted feeling. It is my auxiliary or second function, and Brooks has introverted feeling or FI as his first and dominant function. So we're both feelers, intuitive feelers, and we're both emotional people, but it kind of shows up in different ways for us. So extroverted feeling, to me, I would describe it as a judging function that kind of picks up on the emotions of people immediately in the environment. So when someone walks into a room, you can kind of know this person's sad, this person's happy. You might actually feel that emotion from somebody else, which I feel like that happens to me pretty often. And it doesn't take too much time to process. Like, extroverted feeling for me is pretty instant, and paired with NI, it's kind of like this knowing of somebody's emotional state. So I can be pretty affected by the emotional environment around me. So if someone comes in and they're happy or they're sad, and it's like I'm going to be happy or sad with them, and kind of almost not by choice. It's kind of automatic. And that said, with extroverted feeling, it can try to change the emotion of the environment as well. So I noticed that I do that with people in my environment, striving to bring harmony as the function does, or make sure that everybody's comfortable, make sure that everyone around me is in a good mood or is getting along. And some people have described extroverted feeling as kind of like a socialism function. It can kind of be seen as that, like, what can we do for the greater good of the group? Or what can I do so that everybody is on the same page? And it's kind of a very communal function. And it's not my first function, so I wouldn't say that it's my top priority, but it's a really big priority for me. So in contrast with Brooks being an introverted feeler, his is a lot more of a hidden process, I would say, because it's an internal framework. Introverted feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have this function in my top 4 or in my cognitive function stack easily to access, but introverted feeling to me is more of an internal basis of emotion. So Brooks is always going to be aligning his emotions with those of someone else. So if someone walks into a room and they're happy or sad, they might not pick up on it as quickly. But if they do, or when they do, they're going to cross-reference that emotion back to themselves because they have this internal database of emotion, where he's going to look at somebody who's happy or sad and probably find out why they're sad quicker than I could. I might know they're sad faster, happy or sad faster than he would, but he would be able to probably dig deeper if he has had an experience of that emotion before and cross-reference that emotion back to himself and say, this person is probably sad because of this, or this that I've experienced, and he can probably be there in that emotion in a more empathetic way. Like, he can actually feel that emotion with them in a way that he has felt that emotion for himself before, where I don't necessarily experience that. It's more so I'm just focused on that other person and what they're experiencing, but I don't necessarily bring it back to myself as an extroverted feeler. I'm not really able to reference it back to myself, but I can still try to process that emotion with them. And that said, I feel like I'm more likely to pry to figure out why somebody feels a certain way. I'm more likely to ask somebody why they're feeling that way, or try to figure it out by like talking about it, or trying to get more reference from them about why they're feeling that way to work through it versus myself. And I feel like for introverted feelers, they're going to kind of take more time, and they might not necessarily ask somebody. They're going to be more analytical of that person's emotion internally, so they might be processing inside and not necessarily trying to talk it out with somebody like I would.
I think, yeah, for me, having that when I talk to you about feelings, it's not so much that I'm processing inside, but that I ask a lot of questions and let you talk. So as I'm hearing everything, it's processing, in the moment kind of deal. And then I can just judge it off a bit, what you say.
Yeah.
Kind of get to it.
Yeah, for sure. And sorry if it seems like I'm talking at you and not letting Brooks talk. I'm just trying to explain the cognitive
good with the functions.
Yeah, themselves. And then we're going to go into how we have them show up for ourselves in our relationship and just in general. So extroverted feeling, like I said, it's more of an outward emotional judger or judging feeling, and introverted feeling is more of an internal judgment or processing. And I'm using words like processing and all of that, which sounds kind of more of along a logical or thinking side, but I think for feelers, it is kind of like a process that happens. It's not just this emotional whirlwind of emotions constantly. I think it's more of how we sort through and how we make judgments. So I think extroverted feeling tends to be more expressive. I would say that I can be mistaken for an extrovert because of extroverted feeling, and I have been. And in some of my jobs in the past and currently with customer service, it's kind of a face, I guess. It's reading the other person's emotion at the same time and kind of matching it and staying on the same level with them. And it can appear fake, I think, to other people because I'm trying to keep harmony in the situation, and I can be very expressive with the way I'm talking. If they're expressive or if they're sad, my body language might mimic them. And I think extroverted feeling has a tendency to mimic body language and expression more so than introverted feeling because they're kind of staying on this wavelength of the emotional environment that is in the room with them. Whereas introverted feelers, I think, are more just going to the beat of their own drum with the way that they're processing, and it doesn't matter how somebody else is really coming off. They're just kind of going to be doing what they're feeling at that time and place. I think extroverted feelers have a tendency to be more easily manipulated emotionally, and I think introverted feelers are less likely to be emotionally manipulated, just because introverted feelers have this core of their emotional base, and they know what they feel, and they know usually if they like something or if they don't, and they have opinions about the things that they like or don't like, and kind of strong opinions, especially you being an introverted feeling dominant person. I think you have very strong opinions on things, where I might be more loose with certain things when it comes to how I feel about certain things. I think it's easier to be swayed when you have extroverted feeling, and it's easier to manipulate an extroverted feeler in some ways because someone could just be putting on a face for you to act a certain way if they know this about you. So these are hard functions, I feel like, for myself to explain, but that's my understanding of kind of the differences side by side of extroverted feeling and introverted feeling. And so in our lives and in our relationship, the differences are kind of, I think this is our most apparent difference, is having extroverted feeling versus introverted feeling. So I guess with the topic of how we process emotions and stuff, or like what it looks like for an introverted feeler, like day to day, like how do you go through life with introverted feeling from what your understanding of it is?
I'm thinking.
He's processing right now. This is,
yeah. I mean, that's a good example, right?
No, I know.
So like when, I don't know, I have to think things through before I speak about anything, just because I feel like I need to process everything and get all the things that are wrong out, because if I just say something to answer a question, it may come out as an answer, but if when I look back on it, it may not be my answer. And so this doesn't answer your question, but talking about relationships with this, when we talk about things, I need to process everything before I say something, if it's good or bad, right? So I'll need time to go through and think all my thoughts and how I'm feeling to get to what I would like to say. So, and it's different compared to Angie, and that this is the biggest thing that I've seen in our relationship, because when we first did have arguments and talking through things, she told me up front, because she knows Myers-Briggs very well, that she talks out loud her feelings. That's how she gets to the end point, where I have it all inside and I wait until I get to the point, process it all in me, and then say it. So she told me this because there could be things or questions she asked that sounds bad or sounds, like she's accusing me or whatever it meant. No, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could take it bad. Whatever you say, I could take it bad.
Yeah.
And it was crucial for her to let me know, because it helped me so much. Because still we'll have some conversations and you'll ask me questions or say stuff, and you can tell, because like I'll start to get defensive, and you're like, hey, like I'm not saying this to make you feel any certain way or point a finger at you. I'm just trying to get to the end point.
Yeah.
So seeing her process everything out loud is crazy to me. I don't understand it. So I process everything inside, because one of the big reasons I think is so many things I process are wrong or reactive. They could come off harmful or hurtful, and I don't want them to be. So that's why I process them, because I realize, oh, that's trash. It's not it. Like, let's get to the core, and then I'll come to you when I'm ready.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
With this.
Yeah.
That does not answer your question at all, though.
I think it kind of, honestly.
Relationship-wise, though. But you asked just how it shows up in my everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good example, though. So I think with having extroverted feeling, one thing I do is I like to bounce what I'm feeling off of other people and talk it through. And it doesn't always have to be other people. It can be like writing and journaling. I used to journal a lot to try to process what I'm feeling and try to kind of take an outsider look at myself, if that makes sense. Because it's hard for me to understand exactly why I feel a certain way unless I talk about it. And it's like I'm saying all these things and they're not thought through most of the time if I'm just like bouncing around, well, what about this thing or this thing or this thing? And it can almost sound like word vomit because I'm just like talking and talking. But through that, I'm figuring out why I feel that way. And to somebody who doesn't know me, or especially to an introverted feeler, I felt like I had to prepare Brooks for that because I didn't want him to think that all the stuff that was coming out of my mouth was concrete or absolute, because it most definitely is not when I'm trying to process my emotions. It's like, well, how do I feel about this? Or do I feel this way or do I feel this way? And I'm like almost looking for input from him to figure it out too as I'm going through that. And it's not always an easy process. That's, I think, one thing I'm jealous about with introverted feeling is like that knowing of yourself, your emotional self, where for me it's kind of like more of a puzzle. But yeah, for you, I feel like it does take you a long time to process harder emotions.
Emotions, yeah. And I think that's a plus for me, is having you. It may be a negative for you, having to pull them out of me and not knowing in the moment. But yeah, for me, it's a big plus because it's hard for me sometimes to come out and say certain things if I feel that they may hurt you or whatever it is. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just you prying and being like, really, like, something seems off. Like, is it, you sure you're okay? And for the first 3-5 times, I'm going to say everything's fine,
Yeah.
But then like one little thing opens and then you just keep coming and and then it all comes out. So that's huge for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's important to talk about those things and not keep them internal sometimes. All times, yeah.
Yeah. So that can be kind of like a disadvantage and an advantage just because we operate so differently in that area. Like I might need to sort through something right away, and he might with somebody, and Brooks probably needs to go off by himself and like think for a while about what he's feeling and like get to the bottom of it. And for me, it's harder to do that alone than it is to just be right there talking with you about it. So that's just a way that we have to compromise on that. And I think the advantage of it is that I'm not an introverted feeler as well. So it's not like I'm having all my emotions over here and he's having all of his emotions over here. And we're not like really talking about it. It's like they kind of complement each other in that way. I think.
Yeah, because I think that I compliment you when you talk about yours, because whenever you talk, I'm processing, Yeah. As much as I wish I wasn't a judgmental person, I always do. So I feel that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that said, like, I feel like introverted feeling is so deep because you have this ability to, like, understand, like, the full range of the human emotion, like the emotional scale. I feel like, and you might not even realize it because it might be so natural to you. I don't know if you feel this way, but from looking at introverted feeling, it seems like you all have like this just like this roadmap of human emotion where you can like connect all these dots between different emotions, and there's like happy A, happy B, happy C, and it's like there's just different characteristics of each type of emotion. And with you having that, I feel like it allows me to understand a certain emotion even in more depth than I could, because I feel things, obviously, like I'm not just like
zombie
don't have
here.
my own emotions and just base everything off other people. But I appreciate like the way when you do open up, like you unfold like this. It's like opening up like a chest of like treasured explanations of these emotions. Like, it's so freaking deep. Like, I can tell you I love you, and you can tell me you love me, but then, like, sometimes if you describe it, or, like, sometimes you've written me letters and stuff, and it's like, it's just coming from the deepest parts of you. And I feel that, like, I can feel that as genuine and feel that as this sacred part of you that you're expressing to me. And it's something that you've thought of for a long time, or that you felt for a long time. And it almost kind of cuts to the core of the emotion versus me just trying to, I can feel love for you, but it might be harder for me to express it in words. I might have to think about it for a long time or write it down and, like, outwardly show it and express it, where you might just, like, feel it in your core in this way, in this, like, very personal way to you. That might be harder for you to express.
It is. Yeah, because I've told you, that I won't be able to express how much I do love you. It's hard for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing is, I'm, the only letter differing between us is the J and the P. But there's times where I might seem more P-like and Brooks might seem more J-like in our relationship. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he leads with this judging function of introverted feeling, and I lead with a perceiving function of introverted intuition. So we might look at an issue or look at a person, and Brooks might right away, you feel like this person's good or bad.
So is that why I make judgments quickly? Because if I meet someone or am in a situation with people, I take whatever situation it is or person I'm meeting and basically cross-reference it to everything in my life before, and then I come to a conclusion of what it is, or even what it's going to be like. Because sometimes I come into social environments or am going into a social environment, I'm not even there, and just how the night is going or how the time is, I know from previous experiences, oh, this is going to be this night.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah. So just to wrap up this video, I hope that I described the functions pretty accurately, my perception of them, and how we use them as feelers, as intuitive feelers, and the differences that they have in our relationship with each other, some of the areas that could cause, like, turbulence or misunderstandings if you don't know where the other person is coming from with these different functions, but then also just some of the benefits of having these different functions as well. Because I think they push us to grow individually, learning how to, set boundaries for myself as an FE user, an extroverted feeler user, and Brooks, learning to just maybe express outwardly more.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in a relationship with someone who's not familiar with MBTI, to let them know, because I didn't know anything before, and with what you told me, it was super beneficial to know certain things before talking about things and talking through things. It was almost necessary. So
yeah, it helped a lot. When conflicts arise, like, it helps to just know the other person isn't, like, trying to attack you. It's just to come at it in a very different
like, you
angle. Wouldn't
be trying to attack me, and I'm not trying to pull away and be quiet.
Right.
Like, you may have to pull, but I'm here to talk. So yeah, it's beneficial.
So thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope that it was somewhat informational and kind of gives a glimpse into our relationship, a little deeper into our relationship. And just thank you guys for watching, and hope to put up another video soon.